Sam, Morris, what's your definition of a personal crisis?
Jumping right in. Love it. Personal crisis is, it's that moment when a giant wave, a tsunami almost, feels like it's crashing down on your head. And it can come from it could be relational, it could be something with addiction, it could be a business thing, it could be really anything, but it's that moment in your life when um, everything feels really not okay. And you're basically, there's a moment of shock almost where you just don't know what to do. Where does this next foot go? Where does the next breath come from? What's the next right thing to do? How do I get out of this place? And it's just that complete overwhelm of a world come crashing down.
And I've seen, and probably you've experienced, that there has to be this crisis or breaking point for a man before they start changing. So why do you think that is?
Yeah, that's a great question. I get that question a lot, and I think there's kind of remember many layers to it, and the one that I see as kind of the through line is that men love intensity. Like we like something to like we like going after like a big business or chasing the girl or playing sports, like going for championships. Like we like these big things that kind of like give us a hit, give us like a jolt, like give us a almost like a reason to do it, and oftentimes it takes that, especially with high achievers, I see this, is that it takes that level of intensity to accomplish and to achieve the level they have. And so they have in their system now, it's essentially a program or a pattern that says, if it's not intense, I'm not doing it. And so shift that to the pain of the crisis is if the thing is not intense enough, it's not big. Nah, don't worry about it. Like like I had a few bad nights drinking, or my wife and I have been fighting a lot recently. Great. But it's not, it's manageable, so to speak. And then it gets to the point, 3 months later, 6 months later, where the wife is like, here's the papers, or or I got a DUI last night, or something super fucking intense. And then the man's like, oh, okay, so I need now to kick into gear to do it. So I think at the root of it is that unless it's a really intense, high flame situation, men just kind of like, we're like, okay, no problem. But when it gets to that high flame point, then the man's like, oh shit, like I got to do something about this.
And it's interesting because if the temperature is raised little by little,
Yeah.
you don't notice it. But if suddenly it hits you, right, then it comes crashing down. But usually we're not able to catch those temperature rising in a way.
I love that you brought that in. It's the boil. How do you boil a lobster or boil a frog?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like it's so true, man. Because it's just like it gets to that point. You're just flying down a cliff, and all of a sudden the edge of the cliff is there, and oh crap.
And what was your edge of a cliff?
I've had a few, man. The biggest one in my life was addiction. It was 15 to 20 years of arrested 20 or so times, and rehab 7 times, and broken relationships, and I had a commercial real estate career that went up in flames with it. And the edge of the cliff for me was 2012, and it was like all of that, like it was the boiling of the frog almost in a way. Like I was in the hot water for a long time, but at the same time there was like this, like, I would something would happen, and I would kind of weather the storm a little bit, and be sober for a little bit, or get the girlfriend back, or get the job back, or get the things back that I had lost, and get my kind of self-esteem back. And then, okay, I'm good enough. And then it would fall apart again. And so, that's the biggest one, there's another moment that comes to mind when 2022, when I got cancer. I had cancer for the third time. And that was a true
3 times.
3 times. Yeah. I had
Wow.
2009, 2011, I had oral cancer. And that was due to drinking. And at that time, I was nowhere near the human that I am today, and with the awareness and the consciousness. And I looked at it more as like, I survived cancer, let's celebrate, which to me meant like, let's keep drinking. But looking back, like the cancer was a direct correlation to the drinking, the behavior, the distortion there, the energetics, and the shame that I was holding. And so when it came back in 2022, it was a slow burn of shame that brought it back. And then I got that diagnosis in November, and it was like, oh crap. Like I was really forced to look at all the ways that shame had fueled my life. I mean, shame had fueled my life to the point where it was it was almost like it was my medicine for high achieving, was shame, because I just wanted to, I just did everything I could to operate over the shame until the shame was like, you got to look now. And it was full blown crisis when I got diagnosed with cancer in 2022.
Wow. You talk about shame as well. I remember in a couple of episodes, I talked with Kay, that she talks about shame. The only way to heal shame, whether it's a man or a woman, it's for having other people witness that shame. How did that happen for you? Were you able to heal that shame?
Yeah, it's so true, man. Shame dies when stories are told in safe places. And it was exactly that. It was getting into brotherhood, and a lot of work with our buddy Preston, and doing some Sacred Sons work. And like for the first time, it's funny because the shame for me was almost like its own entity, and then I had to look at all the little tributaries. It was like that led to shame. So it was being really super sick as a child was part of it. The 20 years in addiction was part of it. um like there was some body dysmorphia that was part of it. There was all these things that fed this shame thing. And so like it's almost like working directly on the shame wasn't addressing the things that were contributing to the shame. And so I had to go into these spaces, these brotherhood circles and some other coaching containers, and deep into plant medicine stuff, and actually sit with the reasons why the shame was there, not just the fact that the shame was there. And so when I was able to tell the stories about how I felt like a burden every day of my life for 43 years, that released the feeling of burden, and it released the shame around that. And then, and talking about the guilt and all the things that happened in my addiction, and telling other men, and hearing back of me too, hearing back of like, I understand you. Like that what you're experiencing is valid. That kind of like that brotherhood, or that compassion is so important to the healing of the shame.
And what happens to men that don't heal their shame? You are one example for a couple of years, but what else have you seen in other men?
Yeah. It's infidelity. It's the shame, the intimate relationships are going to be our greatest teacher, no matter which way, however we twist the coin, whether it's man, woman, gay, straight, it does not matter. These intimate relationships are the thing where we are going to be seen at the depth that the deepest of the depths to be seen at. And so what that means is, for men, a lot of times, is that in that depth, the bottom of that depth, the deepest end of that pool, is the shame. It's their little shame monster. They've been harboring and hiding and exiling and maneuvering around for decades. And so when you get into a relationship, and the things like intimacy can be very, very closely tied to shame, because a lot of men, boys, growing up, the intimate moments where they feel like they're not measuring up, or they feel rejected, it's shame, boom, like that. And then we take it on. And so then we get into intimate relationships, and we do everything in our power to avoid that shame. So as we deepen with somebody, wife, partner, girlfriend, as we deepen, the depth gets closer and closer to that shame monster. And so the man that's dead set on protecting that shame monster, that hasn't looked at it, that hasn't gotten into right relationship with it, he'll go elsewhere. He'll cheat, because that other woman doesn't have the access to his shame monster like his wife does, or his girlfriend does. And so the men that have not dealt with the shame are harboring they're holding on to poison, because it will find a way through. Whether that's in the business, they'll what it leads to most is these knee jerk, or these reactionary decisions that can cause a lot of problems. So something will happen where the threat comes in, and the man's nervous system says immediately, protect, protect, protect. And that could mean a bad business decision. It could mean drinking extra for 3 months at a time and just like numbing out, or it could mean infidelity. It could mean any of these things that that man and I could sit here all day long and say that's a bad idea. But in that moment when the nervous system is taking over and the shame monster is taking over, it's the best decision that can be made because it's all about protection and self-preservation. And so when the man has addressed this shame, he gives himself back capacity because he no longer has this thing that lives inside of him that he needs to protect. So therefore he can now act freely and operate freely without worrying about that thing coming through in an opportune moment.
Okay. What do you think are, besides maybe being in these containers, what are things that increase the capacity of men to hold their shame monster in a way?
Yeah. Yeah, outside of these containers, it's the shadow work. The shame lives in the shadows and shame operates in the shadows. And so doing shadow work, whether that's if it's outside of a container, maybe it's one-on-one, maybe it's by yourself, maybe it's sitting in front of a mirror. It's somatic work, it's breath work, it's doing things you know, everything has energy, shame included. And so if it's yoga, if it's lifting weights, if it's dance, if it's screaming at the top of your lungs in your closet, into a pillow, like all these things create movement in the body to access deeper parts of ourselves. And the more that we can access these parts of ourselves, it's shine light on it so that it's no longer in the shadow. And I think anything that a man can do to shine light on the parts that every man knows. If you sat down with a man in a moment and he was vulnerable, like, what's in your dark? What are in your dark corners? Every man's got them. Every man knows them, and every man hides them. And so, in these moments, find moments. If it's not in a group thing, find a private moment or find some way to get a flashlight and shine it into these dark corners, because then the corners aren't dark anymore, and so then there's nothing to hide anymore.
And going back now to the containers, do you remember specific moments when someone was there pointing the light back at you?
Yeah. One specific moment that I remember is what year was it? 2021. I went to a Sacred Sons convergence up in Oregon, and it was a group of, I think there was like 8 or 9 guys in the group, and it was every man got a chance to go in the middle. And the first morning they're like, all right, everyone's gonna go, and I was like, all right, I'm going first. And as I just knew this was an opportunity, like something inside me was like, this is an opportunity for me to release this. And I just got in the middle of that circle and just let it all out and cried and screamed and fell to the ground and was just witnessed and held by these other men. That's a big one. There's moments in the bridge rooms, Bridge and Extreme, when there's like, you find a room where it's nowhere to hide. And also it's like nowhere to hide, which theoretically could be the scariest thing in the world, or the safest place to do that. And so like rooms like that, and then I've been in a couple of the containers where it's funny because like you think like there's this one that everyone knows about. Like I knew I had this one, and I dealt with it, and then underneath that there's littler ones and littler ones. And every time you go back into a container or work with a coach or do some somatic therapy or breath work, plant medicine, whatever it is, new things get revealed. And it's just it's about like finding those moments when you can release the pressure valve. And then over time, the pressure valve's just, instead of that big burst, it's a little psh, psh over time.
Okay. So let's fast forward. There's a man that's already working on himself. He's already revealing these shadows. What are certain pillars he should aspire to aim at? Like, where does he go?
Yeah. One is, it's not invincibility, but it's a feeling of, I got this. Like I got me and I got my world. There's a lot. I think that's like, if we want to like translate what capacity means or what nervous system regulation means or what containment means, that's the pillars are the containment, the capacity, and the regulation, the grounded, centered consciousness that a man carries. Those are like the pillars. Now, what does that look like? It looks like, every man wants to say, I got you. And, to themselves, to the woman they're with, to the partner they're with, to their business partners, to that's an energy that every man would, I would say, desire to carry. Now, there's two ways that can go. Is like the threshold moment there is when I got you no matter what. That's the pinnacle, top of the mountain. There's another peak that's a little bit lower that is I got you as long as you do it my way. As long as you do it, as long as you do it this way, I got you. But the man that's done the extra work, the man that's really been dedicated and devoted to himself and to his nervous system and to his capacity and containment is the one that says, no matter what you do, I got you. And that's not just to the partner in front of him, that's to the world. Like business, no matter what happens, I got it. No matter what comes up in my inner world, no matter my inner wilderness, no matter what emotion, feeling, expression comes through, I can hold it. I can take a breath and I can move forward.
I love that part. You said, I got you no matter what versus I got you as long as I do it my way. And I've been a victim of that many years. And one of the biggest things and challenges that came in this year actually was that I had an expectation of my girlfriend having to work out, having to be a certain figure in the body, have to show a certain way. And I've created a bunch of trauma from that with her. And we're still going through that in certain moments, but I've had to, again, like reshift that expectation into saying, hey, I just want you to be healthy and I will be the own example of myself, but I cannot control what you do and what you don't do.
Yeah.
What's been your experience around?
Yeah, that's I love, thank you for bringing that up. Thanks for the vulnerability there. I think that like that story, it can go, that could land out emotionally, physically, spiritually. Like there's all these like things that we desire. Um, you know, and I think that you landed on it at the end there when you said you can be the example. For men that desire, see, wow, there's so much here. One of the men's deepest kind of yearnings is for something, the woman, the moment, the business to be different. It's got to earn more money. She's got to be a different figure, or like, oh, this moment, like it's too chaotic, and like this is about the I got you is, how can I be in a moment without needing it, her, the thing to be any different, right? And so that's one thing, is that no, this is like I love you, and it's I don't need you to be any different. I don't need this moment to be any different. I'm not trying to change it. I'm not trying to fix it. Now, the other side of that is, okay, so we do desire different. Like I do desire more money. I do desire my girlfriend to show up in this way. I do desire my business to operate this way. So all those three things, those, our life around us is the energetics, right? It's the energetic feedback. So as a man, one of the most powerful things that we can do is to become the invitation for all of that. So if we go out and say, I need you to be different, essentially what that feels like to the money, to the girl, to the business is an attack. Like, and so that anything will recoil from an attack. Like that's trauma at its finest, is like an attack, an infiltration, impact on someone, on a way of being. And so as men, the more that we can create an invitation, which is essentially creating the weather or the culture of our world, that the more we will see the world come to us without us even trying. Because if we go out and try, like you experienced it, like you said, it came up with your girlfriend, like, I really wish you'd work out, and she's like, I feel attacked. I feel judged, and all the things, and it went sideways. And and so as you though create the invitation, and you're getting there with like the invitation of health, like I desire to be in a relationship where health is number one of our top values. Great. How do I now transmit that energy and that value, that standard in our relationship? Honesty, truth, connection, travel, adventure, intimacy, whatever these things are. It's not about us going and really getting those things. It's about us pointing our energy towards those things and then becoming the invitation for those things to come in. And now it's up to us. Again, we go back to capacity, is, do we actually have the space to hold the six figures, the hot girlfriend, the thriving business? Because if we don't have the space to hold it, it will probably show up, and we'll fumble it, sabotage it, miss it. Something will happen. But If we get ourselves right and become the man that can hold all that and the invitation for all that, it comes with ease.
Oh. Hmm. And oh yeah, that one's good. It's you become the invitation. And I've also seen that whatever you are experiencing in your life, it's also your responsibility. And it's already the invitation that you're currently doing.
100%. Yeah. Um, there's a great book called Existential Kink. And one of the key concepts of it is experiencing is evidence of wanting. So no matter what it is, like take the bad or the good titles or labels off of things. If it's in our life and we're experiencing it, it's because there's some part of us that wants it. And most of the time that is anchored in what is the safest thing to experience. So people, I'll use money for example, people that are, stuck at like 5K a month. They routinely, I can't stand this. I hate this. I wish I could make 15K a month. Great. But how is 5K a month actually serving you? What about you wants 5K a month? What about you wants the thing that you say you don't want? And once we can uncover that, that's getting into the subconscious. And then we become conscious of it. Then it no longer operates in the shadows anymore. And we can say, actually, I'm consciously expanding my thermostat because I want more.
How can a man be elevating more of the money and the more of the woman that he desires and the other thing at the same time? Or is that really possible?
So the short answer is reps. Get the reps in, because these, like, what you could describe as like all at once could be an experience of overwhelm. And a lot of people will get the thing that they prayed for, the money, the girl, the business. They're like, oh my God, it's here. And it's too much and I can't handle it. Immediately it's not the universe taking it away from you. It's you will then immediately start retracting back to what your safety mode is. So if you get the 15K months or the 35K months and that's what you prayed for, and you're like, oh my God, it's way too much. You're going to do everything in your power to essentially get that energy off of me. Now, to get it all is to understand that the overwhelm is actually just the invitation into the more that you so deeply desire. And so if the more shows up and you're a little bit overwhelmed, great, good, breathe into it. And so this comes down to, now we can talk about things like meditation and, the tapping into the mind does not know the difference between an actual experience and an imagined experience. To the mind, it's the same thing. To our physical being, our ego, our human, they're different. Like I can imagine $1 million but I haven't experienced $1 million. So the more that we can get our system on board with the thing that we want, the better able we'll be able to steward the thing that we want, thing we desire. So it is like, so say if you, like, one thing I recognized a few years ago is that as much as I loved talking about, I want to have a lot of money, I would see the number in my bank account and get anxiety. And so I would immediately, it would go down to, not a great number. Right. And so I was just like, holy crap. Like that number comes into my bank and I immediately will just spend, or do stupid things, or just, stop generating leads, or do whatever it is to get that energy of the money off of me, because it's something about it didn't feel safe. And so what I did is I would take screenshots of like high numbers in my bank account. And I would just kind of like look at them every now and then, as if I was opening my banking app and saying, oh, look, the number's 10K or whatever, 20K. And so just getting myself used to seeing that and holding that number, then that's when we talk about like how the capacity increases, the safety level, the trust level with that thing increases. Because the nervous system will always retract to an unfamiliar hell or a familiar hell. And it will kind of avoid the unfamiliar heaven. So the heaven and hell are the human experiences of like good and bad. Familiar and unfamiliar are all the nervous system cares about. Familiar is safe, unfamiliar is dangerous. So if you're, so the way to make unfamiliar familiar is the reps. How do you, like, okay, so your girlfriend's coming to you with big emotions, big expression, big emotions. And you're like, oh God, I don't know. Like, this is a lot. I want to get out of here. I want to go watch TV, like whatever. the more that you can actually sit in that thing with her, it's nervous system work. It's deep knowing that, like, breathing into it, centering yourself, calming yourself, getting those every time you do it, you're preparing yourself for the next time, because you can hold a little more. You can hold a little more. You can hold a little more. And that's really the way to do it, is like every time you see an opportunity where you feel your body want to eject or collapse, breathe into it, take a step forward and stand in it just a little bit longer.
Do you have specific moments in your life where you've seen your capacity increase, like the one of the money, right? Is there other places, maybe in relationship or maybe leading other men?
Yeah, all of that. Yeah. Relationship is a big one, because, the feminine will never stop feeling like a lot to the masculine. I don't care how much capacity you have. I don't care how big your nervous system is. Like, you'll be able to hold a lot more. Like, my wife is incredibly expressive, incredibly feminine, emotional. Like, she's very big in her feminine ways, which I love, and something I actually wanted. I was like, on my list, I was like, this is the thing I desire. And so she showed up, and I'm like, oh, it's a lot. And it always feels like it's an ever expanding thing. That, there's, it's kind of like you don't notice it in the moment, but looking back 3, 6, 9 months, a year ago, I'm like, wow, like it's come a long way. And so, just noticing, like, things that I used to do, like go right to fixing, or go right to, like, I want to solution this, or I want, like, oh, we're in conflict. How quickly can we get through this? The woman doesn't think about how quickly we can get through this. She thinks about how emotionally can we let this land and be in this before it moves itself. And so to the man, that's like, oh, it's hard to hold. And so noticing moments when it's like, oh crap, like I'm not rushing to fix anymore. I'm not rushing to solution anymore. I'm actually asking her questions about her experience instead of trying to divert the conversation to the finish line.
Mm. Okay, I love that. And if we go back to when you were single, right?
Yeah.
What did you do to prepare yourself for a woman?
Yeah.
Like,
Embodiment work, breath work, embodiment work. So, I mean, so there's things that we can, like, we can see Instagram, and we can see these beautiful posts from whoever it is, John Wyland, whoever is making these posts, and it's like, yes, that. And you're single, I'm single at the time, and the thing is that, how do you get your nervous system again around the thing that you want? And so for me, what it was, um, getting back to integrity within myself, checking in with my integrity, my energy leaks within myself. So, um, if it's like a lot of men, I think, will get to the point of, like, oh, like, I'll do this when I meet her. Like, oh, like, I don't know what it is. Like, um, I'll take more time off work when I meet her. Like, just an example there. And so the thing is like, that's not really possible, because you're going to meet her and then all of a sudden take this time off work, and you're essentially going to throw yourself out of whack. So if you kind of, like, act as if it's already there,
mm,
that way when it shows up, it's not unfamiliar, it's familiar. And so what I started doing was, like, I just looked at all the ways that my patterns had interrupted my bliss, essentially, over 20 years, and I recalibrated to integrity, to centered, to my center energy in my center, um, and then just practiced, like, sat in breath work, and sat in meditation, and sat and did some, like, real deep embodiment stuff to, like, really become, not because it's like she'll make me the man, or I become the man that she then is. Again, the invitation. Like, do I become the invitation for that which I desire, or am I waiting for that which I desire to invite me in? That's backwards. It is like, I got into all the I made I created a target for myself of what I desired, and I started being the man that was already there before it got there.
hmm. Okay. And you said something about integrity, right? You got an integrity of yourself.
Yeah.
I know that big part of staying in integrity as a man is being around other men as well. So talk about men's work. You said that you were in Sacred Songs, I think you've been into EMLT as well. So what are other containers that have allowed you to elevate, and what do you say about that?
Yeah, I did both of those. They're both great. I think that containers show up at the right time when the person's ready for that container. Um, and other than that, it's my own men's groups, like being in other men, like not with no like no business attachment at all. It's like what, 6 to 8 men, 4 men, 10 men, whatever it is. Just sitting down and being equals and being mirrors and being um the beacon for the other men, for other men. And that's been like, outside the containers are great, but they're kind of like peak experiences, right? Where it's like you go off, like EMLT has 2 of these weekends where you go off into the desert, you go off into the mountains, and they're amazing, and like massive work gets done. And it's not possible to do that all the time, but it is possible to be in a couple groups of other men that you let into your world, and vice versa. And then they can see, like, they see your patterns, because everyone's got blind spots. Every single human being has blind spots. And if we can invite in men that we trust to call us on those, that's where the real work is. It's not about those peak experiences are great because they create movement and they create new levels in you. And then it's the integration part. So like, how do you create as much of this in your life as possible, and be open to receiving feedback on it?
And how does one get involved with that? Like if you met a guy in the street, like how do you make that man get interested even in men's work?
Um, that's a great question. Man, this kind of goes back to where we started with, like, what gets men to do things. And so if that man is ready to hear the message, he'll he would I think he would love to say, like, yeah, I'm in on that. I think one thing to point out is, like, you know the energy that we carry. So, like, oh my God, like a man is like, sees like me or you or somebody else and is like, wow, that's good energy. Like, it feels masculine. It feels like a leader. It feels like, a presence. And it's like, and that man immediately now becomes inquisitive. And so, um, man asks, how'd you get here? Men's work, men's groups. I began to open up to other men and confide in other men. And it's it's just it's the what's the word? It's the initiative that it takes to say, like, this, the way I am is maybe not okay. And not to say that, like, I'm always going to be not okay, but usually the thing that would get a man seeking out a men's group is, like, there's something about, I feel there's a feeling inside of me that there's more available to me, or that something needs to change so that I can experience more peace, more freedom, more space in my life.
So that's one part. And you have your own men's group right now?
Like, personal? Yeah, I have 2 of them. Yeah, I have 2 men's groups. They're one of them is like a really old, like 25 years old. Like, we've known each other for most of our lives.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll say this, it's not quite the men's group that we're talking about, but it's a group of men that have known each other for a very long time. Like, they were there through my whole addiction, and before it, during it, and after it. We met each other's kids. Like, it's lifelong friendships, and it's a group of 20 of us that just, we talk almost every day. Something's going on, and it's very nourishing. It's great to have that level of just knowing of people, like. And it's one of those things, like, these are the thing about these men's groups is, like, who, if the shit goes down in my life, who can I call? Most likely it's going to come from these men's groups. One of these guys. And the other one, I just joined one. I just started one actually this year with 7 other dudes from EMLT, and that one's like, that's where we, like, really go to depth.
Mm.
That's the one I get my depth fix from.
hmm I personally was someone that didn't do sports, so I didn't have like a team per se through a whole high school. So when I was able to enter men's group, that that feeling of being like brothers and camaraderie, that's where it really appears.
Yeah, that's so true, man. And it's one of those things that's like, I think men have that like default lone wolf thing in them. Like, do it myself. That's great. I got this, no problem. And then when you get into the brotherhood, the circles, you're like, holy shit. Like, this is the real medicine. Yeah. Every time I've ever left like a men's group call or a men's retreat or a in-person men's group, it's like I'm high almost.
Mm.
Just lit up and feeling good, like I can conquer the world.
And why do you think we should have separate spaces, right? Because we have Bridge where we mix all of that, like both men and women, but why should we have only men's groups and even only women's groups?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's funny because the women had this figured out for centuries with like the red tents and like sitting around the campfire, and like we can look at all reasons why that happened with hunter and gatherer and all that, but the fact of the matter is that the chemistry of an all men's group is different than the chemistry of a co-ed group.
Mm-hmm.
Now, um, I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to properly phrase it in English, but something shifts when men and women get around each other. And I'm not saying like men around men, women around women can go exceptionally deep because the other sex is not there. And it's like there's something about it that either blocks or invites in more depth. And so um, there is there's no co-ed group that could ever meet the depth and the thing I get from men's groups, and there's no men's group that could ever meet the depth and thing I get from co-ed groups.
Mm.
Because like in a bridge room, for example, like to see a man fall apart in front of 40 men and 40 women is fucking powerful. Like really, and for that man too. Like I mean, you've been in those rooms, like seen massive breakthroughs in those rooms because of that dynamic. And to see a man truly be witnessed in the things he never tells anybody by other men is also just as profound. And so it's not, I'll just say there's not like one is worse or better or greater or lesser than the other. They both have their unique medicine and they're both super valuable.
Mm-hmm. I think that you recently decided to focus more on men, though.
Yeah.
What was the reason behind that?
Um, I feel like it wasn't necessarily my choice. It was just kind of how it played out and showed up for me. And I just recognized kind of what was happening. Now my wife and I do some couple stuff, but for me personally, um, you know, I have most of my Instagram following, most of my social media, like most of the comments and the engagement I get is from women, but and it's all, I wish my husband would work with you, or I wish my boyfriend would work with you. And so, um, that's great. And women, like I've definitely helped a lot of women with like, masculine, reconciling their relationship with the masculine and masculine safety and all that. But there's something that happens. I basically made a choice that said, what is like, where do I feel like my biggest impact could be? And that is relating to other men because of the life experience that I've had, my own reconciliation with my own masculine, um, has given me the skill set that what I say and what I teach, it really lands for men. And I started to see that. I started to see it, working with both. I started to see there was a little bit more resonance with the men that I was working with than the women I was working with. And so I just decided that if this work is going to be really impactful, I'm going to have to change the way that the men hold themselves to hold their women.
Hmm. Okay. No, that's amazing, man.
Thanks.
And okay, so we've talked about range. We talked about also holding space for that. I think we also talked about how the lone wolf mentality makes people not want to ask, right?
Yeah.
What is leadership,
Mm.
and how can men become leaders in their lives?
Yeah. Leadership is it's an embodiment it's not even like I'd say it's barely a verb. There is a verb aspect to it of like being a leader, but there's more of a way of being. Like it's how do you leaders go first is one thing that comes to mind. You know, like are you willing to take the arrows? Are you willing to take the swords? Are you willing to step out on that branch? Are you willing to step forward in order to um, lead? I can't think of another word, but um, and leadership really is about how do you hold yourself in every moment. Because if there's wavering in your either your center, your groundedness, your core, your energy, your decision making, if there's any wavering there, um, you're not in your leadership. So the leadership is that's the wavering comes when it gets up into the head. If the response. So we talked about range. You mentioned range there for a second. Um, Range basically means either being responsive and not reactionary. Reactionary is the switch is 0 to 100. That's no range. The response is the dial 0 to 6, 0 to 8, 0 back to 6. And so if the reaction is like I'm out of my body, I'm in my head, and that's when the thoughts can come in. That's when the wavering happens. That's when leadership then becomes a question. But if the body is on board and the body is aligned and the body knows what to do, the leadership is there and the response happens. So leadership is really about how do you hold yourself in every moment, good or bad, high or low, light or dark, and move forward with the proper response. And then kind of like zoom out on that. What aspect of that, I'll speak to the men here, masculine leadership makes the people around you feel like a yes to you and feel like a yes to your vision and feel like a yes to the whatever it is that you're presenting to them.
And what have you seen that's effective for a man to lead his relationship, to enroll women into being a yes?
Yeah. So the most effective thing for that is for the man to stay in his masculine gifts, which then allows the woman to be in her feminine gifts. That's the truest form of leadership. So if the man is in the relationship, he has the containment, he has the frame, the masculine pole, the structure, the culture. That allows the feminine, his woman, to become fully expressed, be in her oracle, and be the energetic guide of the relationship. So the men hold it down, and both people lead. It's not like one is always leading and the other's not. The man leads in like the kind of the physical, the time and the space. The women leads in the ethereal, the energetic, the lovey-dovey, free, flowy kind of stuff. And that only happens when the man is enough in his masculine that she feels the space to do that. If she doesn't feel the man is in the leadership role, she'll step into the leadership role. And then that's when she becomes exhausted, she becomes angry and crabby and bitter and all that. When she feels like she has to hold it all, she can't be in her feminine.
Okay.
And so the masculine gift is that conscious awareness and containment of time and space. The feminine gift is the oracle, the energy, the flow, the expression.
Could you give me examples of controlling time and space for
Yeah, dinner dates. Like not saying, babe, what do you want to do tonight? Oh, I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. Like, tell me what you feel like eating. And it's like, yeah, it's not even like saying we're doing this. It's even like you can back off. That may work. That's good sometimes. Yes. And the other thing is like, tell me how this sounds. We're gonna go to Morton's at 7 p.m. on Friday, and then we're gonna go and lay in the park under the stars afterwards. Great, done. You know, it's that, and that way she can now think about what she's going to wear and think about she can like just focus on like enjoying her meal and going and laying in the stars, which is like what the feminine thrives in, is like knowing that all that's taken care of.
No, that's beautiful. So it's basically just planning, right? The preparation part.
A lot of planning, a lot of thinking ahead, a lot of, like making sure that the kind of like I'm gonna say heavy lifting, like physically and figuratively, like the heavy lifting is done, and so the woman can just drop into the experience of it, which is not like this is not. I just want to pause here and say, like, this is not. I'm the man. I have to do everything. This is like I'm the man. I'm going to take care of what needs to be done so the woman can do her thing and be of most effectiveness in this relationship.
Mm-hmm. But eventually we will make mistakes and we will screw it up. So what happens then? Yeah, what happens then? Like how do we repair the relationship? How do we say I'm sorry to a woman? Because sometimes we want to solve it, right? So what do we do?
Yeah. Great question. So women, this goes back a little bit to the energetics of it all. Women are more of energetic beings than men are. Women, we're all energetic beings, but women have this relationship with energy that men do not have. And so women oftentimes see things way before men do. And so the man, okay, so we're in conflict, like ruptures happened, and like, oh crap, I said something, did something, and now it's like a kerfuffle in the house. So the best way to initiate a repair is to say, babe, I see what happened. Here's what I see what happened here, and I imagine that it's really like in not explain to her experience, but validate her experience, and then give her the floor to say, babe, can you please express to me what it was that you were feeling and the emotions you were going through there, and then listen and repeat back. It's nonviolent communication. It's imago dialogue. It's these ways of communicating that, for one, the first step is that she doesn't want to be the one that has to like initiate the repair. She wants to know that you have also seen what happened energetically, and that you can then, your awareness and your consciousness says, oh, I see what happened. I'm now going to move this into initiating repair. And then it becomes, now we're getting back into the capacity. How much can we hold now? Because the woman is going to want to express probably 3 or 4 times the same thing, like, and who knows, but it can go any number of ways. But for the man at this point now, it becomes like, okay, how much more of her expression can I invite in? How many times can I ask her? Like, is there anything else there? Does that feel complete? Is there anything else you want to share about that? And then when she's finally complete, it's like, that must have been really hard. I can absolutely see how when I did this, you felt that way. And so that then asking the question, one of the big questions I like to ask is, when it's all kind of quieting down a little bit, what do you need in this moment? Is it a hug? Is it a breath? Is it a hand? Is it space? Is it to express more? Like, just complete, like, to the point where, like, we're long past what a man thinks is the completion point, but we're not. It's not, our completion point is not. It's not that it's not relevant, but there'll be time for that when the whole thing has run its course, and our job is to have the capacity to hold the fullest expression of the woman's experience of whatever the rupture was. But to bring it back a little bit to the beginning, is like, a woman always wants to know that we see what she sees, so that she doesn't have to be the energetic police of the relationship. That's one of the biggest things to initiating repair.
Yeah. So whoever man it's hearing this again, like it's more about how much can you take it versus whether she's right or wrong, right?
Or you're right or wrong. Yeah. There's a theory about relationships where there's 3 stages to love. The first stage is, what do I need? What do I want? The second stage is, what do you want? What do you need? And the third stage is, what does love want? And what does love need? So one thing that my wife and I work really hard to get to as quickly as possible is, it's not me against her or her against me. It's me and her against the problem and the other thing that wants to disrupt us. And so the sooner that we can kind of get on the same team, it doesn't mean that the thing goes away. It just means that now we're having a conversation about the thing, not trying to, little kids, our egos going at each other.
Mm-hmm. And again, there's this masculine urge of fixing stuff or getting things done. So where is there a place for that in conflict or in relationships?
Oh, absolutely. After the whole dust has settled, You know, there'll be the if a man is attuned and tapped in and conscious and aware, um, he will be able to recognize when that is, and it's certainly not like probably in the first 5 minutes. Like it's because the man sees the solution right off the bat, and you know what, the woman might too. And she also has this program that says, I need to move this emotionally. I need to figure this out. And so, um, once all the expressions have been expressed and the woman is complete with her experience and it's been validated, and the man, the same thing. The man also has this feminine part of him that desires to express and express his hurt and express his reasoning and all that. So once all the expressions have kind of run their course, usually that's the point when the solution or how do we move forward. But also here, like it's not like the solution, that thing is like an end game or a target. Like most of the time, the quickest way to the fixing of the solution that the man sees is the holding of the space, or the allowing of the space. Not so much like one direct action. Like that may be, and the woman may ask, like, what do you think we should do right now? That, and when the invitation is made, okay, RSVP. But until the invitation is made, it's probably not the best course to interject a solution or a fix.
Hmm. Okay, so we have the challenges on relationship, but let's talk about the blessings. What blessings have you felt and experienced since you've committed to this relationship?
Yeah. That's a long list. I would say the one is like a different level of masculinity, primal. Like the first one that occurred to me, I remember it was, I think like the day after we got married. Or maybe, no, it was probably like the first week. Anyways, I remember I was running around doing stuff, and I was like, and I felt this, like, I mean, it's a way different thing to go from boyfriend, fiance to husband. Like husband is like this, I don't know what it was, but something kicked on inside of me of like a primal instinct to protect and to provide. And it's just something that I never even thought was a thing. I didn't even know it was coming. I just thought like, okay, we're married. Like, and I knew there was a big commitment. I knew it was a very ceremonial, energetic thing, but I didn't expect my primal masculine to level up the way that it did. And so that's one. The other one is that this woman sees me on uh, levels that I didn't really even know about, or that I did know about, but I didn't know needed to be wanted to be seen there. So mostly like inner child, like I'm a quirky motherfucker, and like all my things that I do, which I had not hid, but like sometimes I had actually been judged for in relationship, and she just welcomes all of them and we laugh about them, and like it's the truest form of all of me is welcome that I've ever experienced. And that alone for a man is the most healing thing that one could ever experience. And to feel, because this is the first relationship I've ever been in where it doesn't feel like it has an expiration date.
Ah,
Yeah. And so to feel that is the ultimate level of safety, because I didn't know this, but every relationship I had before this, if there was a fight, I'm like, great, this is the end. Every time. And it was so subtle, but also so big that I didn't even see it. And so now, knowing that if we have a conflict, it's like, great, it's like, this is here, let's move through it, and then it's moving on. Like we said this right from the beginning, there's no back doors. Neither of us have the option to create any back doors of like, if this happens, then we're all in, ride this out until the wheels come off or we both die, whatever it is. Like this is it, we're all in on this, and it's me and her till the end. We always say the ultimate goal is you and me under a tree, which means like we're on a property under a tree looking out, and there's our house and our kids and maybe the beach, whatever it is, but it's the ultimate home, really.
so are you saying there are no non-negotiables in the relationship?
What do you mean by that?
So there's everything is allowed in terms of like there can be conflicts, there can be yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing off the table. We pretty much, we know everything about each other. We know, Like, and that means like, yeah, like past experiences and childhoods and relationships and all that. And also like currently, like we were constantly checking in with each other and like not in a way of like, you okay? You okay? You okay? But just like always kind of like noticing each other and attuning to each other. And you know, we oftentimes say that our relationship is like a toddler, and not in like time period, but in the fact that like if you notice how like kids will, if they're at they're at Target and they want a toy or something, and they don't, and parents says no, the kid's like for 30 seconds and then they're on to the next. Like, okay, cool. We like to say that we kind of treat our relationship like that, whereas like something comes up, we just like we kind of like have our thing and do our conflict and move through it, and then it's done. We're done. It's cleared from our nervous system, so we don't let a lot stick to us. We let pretty much nothing stick to us. So it really allows a lot of freedom in the relationship.
So what I meant with non-negotiables, right, is about things that can't happen in the relationship.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. The one thing that can't happen is you can't talk about leaving.
Mm.
We can't bring up that we can't bring up maybe you're not for me or any kind of that stuff.
Okay.
That's kind of that's the one that's like the non-negotiable thing. Anything other than that, I'm trying to think. I don't think there's any others than that.
For example, physical violence, infidelity, things like.
Oh, well, yeah, that's of course, yeah. I mean, no, like none of that level of harm to the other person. Of like there's, and we say like the love is always unconditional, and the love also gets to change if something like that happens. But like I mean I'm 100% certain that neither of those things are going to happen. So, but yeah, if they did happen, then that's for sure a line in the sand.
Got it. How and when did you know that, okay, I'm gonna marry this woman?
So we met at a party before Burning Man in 2023. We were both kind of with other people at the time. And then over the next 4 months, both of our lives shifted a lot. My relationship ended. Her, she was kind of just dating. That kind of fell away. And so August, that was August. And then by November, we had started hanging out a lot. And, um, there's a part of me that like when I met her, I got a hit of like when I first saw her and started talking to her, I was like, well, excuse me, this feels really different. And at the time I was with somebody else. So I was like, oh, okay. Like, but it's okay. It's a hit. I noticed it. Like I like this person. She's cool. She's good to talk to. She's pretty, but it wasn't like I was going to do anything about it. And then, as we kind of reconnected 4 months later or 3 months later, um, it was like wow, this is really easy. This is really like comfortable. Like we laugh a lot. We talk about anything. Like we meet each other in ways that I hadn't felt met before. And so I say from the time like I pretty much knew that we were going to be married. Our anniversary is coming up on December 13th. And so I like to joke because this house that I'm in right now, I signed the lease before I met her. So I moved in on December 1st and she moved in on December 13th. And she was nomadic at the time, so she didn't have her own place. But the reason that happened like that is because we both knew. Like we both were like, wow, this is like, and we said right from the beginning, like if we're gonna do this, we're gonna go all in on this. And that means like honest communication. That means fully expressed versions of ourselves all the time. No holding back. If something's wrong, we say it. If we want to do something, we say it. Like there's nothing, no stones unturned here. And so I would say that that's a long answer. The short answer is pretty much right away. Is I knew like, and when I say right away, I mean when we started like actually connecting and like the energy was building. And so right around like that November, December 2023.
Amazing, man. Congratulations on that. And congratulations on the upcoming anniversary. Do you have any specific plans? Are you going somewhere?
Not on that day. So I just got a vasectomy reversal. So I got a vasectomy 6 years ago. At the time I was like, kids are not for me. I was 44, 45 years old. And I had dated a couple girls that had kids. And um, so I just recently, a couple weeks ago, got the vasectomy reversal. So we're kind of in like recovery period from that. And so for our anniversary, we're just going to lay low here in Austin for a little while. Maybe do a medicine night, and then we're going to Australia in February.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah, that's where she's from, Australia. She's from Brisbane, so she hasn't been home in a couple of years, and I've never been there, and I want to meet her family. So
Amazing.
yeah.
What made you want to have kids? Was it the relationship with her or other factors?
Uh, it's funny. We both had said no to kids. Like she's 43 now. She for a long time was a no to kids. Just, and we both were kind of there for different reasons. Um, and then we both about 3-4 years ago had a shift inside that we're like, oh crap, I want to have kids. And for me, it was seeing guys like Preston and other guys here, and I just like I had friends that had kids, and they had kids for years, but for the first time, I started to notice like, wow, that looks like they make that dad thing look really great, and they talk about how like the kid like we didn't give birth to a kid, the kid gave birth to the man.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh wow, and so all just somehow the energy came back around, and I was like, yeah, this is something. And plus, like I had one sister who was older than me. She passed away without having kids early in her life, and then my other sister is almost my age, and she doesn't have kids yet. So it kind of occurred to me that if I don't do this, that this is kind of the end of my line.
Wow.
And yeah, I don't want that. I don't want the line to end with me. Like I think all the healing that I've done on my stuff and my generational stuff and my family stuff really shifted me to saying like this line gets to continue.
Mm. That is super powerful, man. Like that
Yeah.
you decide to continue the line of your own family after you healed. Because when you weren't healed, quote unquote, you
Yeah.
didn't want to continue it. You wanted to end it.
Yeah, I was like I literally said to myself, I'm cool with it ending here. And then it hit me like, wait a second, like who am I to decide that? Like no way. Like it really gets to continue.
Mm. Awesome, man. Let's talk a little bit about faith and legacy. So, okay, you're gonna have kids, right?
Yep.
Um, you have a strong relationship. Do you have a strong connection with? I know that you come from also like plant medicine journeys, and
Yeah.
what do you believe in? What's your super being or God or however you want to believe it?
The super being. I've never heard that before. I like it. Um, it's it's kind of like Star Wars. It's the Force.
Ah.
Like it's this like you and me sitting here right now is God. Me looking out, watching my dog run around the backyard is God. And um, again, I use the word God because it's something that people can relate to. Like I don't have if there was like any word for it, source, spirit, universal intelligence, um, whatever you want to call it, like there is something at play that is beautiful and divine and creates the most beautiful mm, cadence or dance in the world. And in the physical, it looks like the world around us. Like it's all of it. It is all created divinely perfect for us to vision. Like I believe that like if we find 5 people in an elevator in New York City one day, they were all 5 designed to be there in that moment at that time. Every ceremony I go into, whether it's with friends or strangers, all of us decided on a soul level to be in this moment together at the same time. Um, there are greater forces at play always guiding us. And that's the big shift is like, okay, I can see it. I recognize that God, I heard a great thing the other day, not the other day, years ago, that said 2 things. One is like, if you don't believe in God, go try and stop a wave. Or if you don't believe in God, go try and pull a tree out of the ground. So it's like, there's for me, that's enough evidence that something else exists here beyond just like a seed in a dirt. Like, it's all here and it's all beautiful and it's all divine. Um, Trusting the plan, that's the hurdle. That was a long time. And then really this process of getting my vasectomy reversal and having this kid was a huge catalyst in that because um there was resistance in my body of like, oh, I'm 50 and like, I haven't really like, I don't have the freedom thing, and like, finances aren't as where I thought they should be. But like, the thing is like, I just noticed that the conversation kept happening. I'm like, all right, so clearly there's a soul, or God has a plan to bring a kid into this world through me. And like, if that's it, then okay, I'm here for that. And so in the past, like 2 years, I'd say year and a half, 2 years, I've really gotten to a place of surrender to, you know, trusting in God and trusting source and trusting the universe and trusting the plan, and just knowing that it's all taken care of.
Mm. Okay, yeah, trusting it when it's collapsing or things are not in the right place. And I love that you said, okay, like it's even and I think it's similar to what you say, like I got you no matter what, right? You got yourself no matter what.
Yep.
I think that from that aspect, you can trust the universe because you are connected to the force and to the source.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I did a strength finders thing, and it said one of the, like, my top strength was connectedness, which meant like I have a great, a deep knowing of the interconnectedness of all things. And so just knowing, like, when you see like a synchronicity, or you see some sort of like something happens in your life where you're like, oh shit, that's cool. Like, it's all just this like interconnected thing of, you think about a friend you haven't seen in 10 years, and then all of a sudden, like, you actually see them or they call out of the blue. It's just wild. Once you kind of get tapped in and surrendered to it, it's wild to see how it unfolds.
Beautiful, man. So let's go back to your purpose and the work that you're doing with men.
Yeah.
What would be the legacy that you want to leave for them?
Wow. I would say that you don't have to do more to be worthy. Would be a big one. And you don't have to struggle to be worthy. Self-worth has been a big teacher of mine. It's been hard for me to get my body around self-worth and what I'm worth. And for a lot of times it did feel like doing more, and a lot of times it struggled. The more I struggled, the more I'm worth was my occurring world. And letting go of struggle meant letting go of worth for me. Like, I would see someone else struggling more than me, and I'm like, oh shit, that guy's worth more than me. And it's like, no, like, you're worthy because you were born, not for any other reason.
Yeah, that's super powerful. And as a man, it really relieves weight out of the shoulders because
Just even saying it right now, I'm like, it's so true, man. It's such an exhale in the energy.
and if there's a man listening to this, he doesn't know what to do. He is in a crisis.
Yeah.
What would be a first step that he can take?
I would say, there's a question that John Weiland asked me a couple years ago at Burning Man, and it was, what gets to change, or who do I need to become right now so that when I die complete? So if a man's in crisis, something has gone haywire long before the crisis happened. And so, one of the things I know about crisis is that crisis only happens when a truth has been looked away from. Some sort of truth, something was left unaddressed for too long, and the thing that was left unaddressed said, I need some attention, so I'm going to create crisis, because otherwise you're not getting it. I'm not getting the attention, and I need to get your attention because you need to change. Your soul needs to evolve, and if you're not doing it, this is the way it's going to have to go down. And so, in that moment of crisis, every man gets to look and say, what has happened up until this point to create this, and what gets to change going forward so this doesn't happen again.
That one's great. That one's great. And I like, crisis comes when you divert from the truth.
Yeah, look away.
Yeah.
So if it's a relationship, if it's like your wife is feeling a little naggy or a little angry or crabby recently, there's probably something there to look at, because the next that goes down the road and it gets worse. You know, if you have like some bad behavior one night when you're drinking, if that happens frequently for a year, there's something there that needs to be looked at. There's always something. The thing about crisis is the crisis makes the man think. There's two things. One is like, oh, that was weird. All of a sudden this happened. No, not true. And the second thing is the man thinks in that crisis, oh shit, how fast can I clean this up and get through it? Okay, yes, let's clean this up and get through it, but let's just not clean this up and get through it and then fall back into the same behaviors.
So good. So good. Yeah. Thank you for that, man.
Yeah.
Where can people find you and how can they work with you?
Beautiful. So people can find me on Instagram. It is at Sam G Morris on Instagram, and then LinkedIn is Sam Morris is another place I spend a lot of time. Website is under development. And how can they work with me? I do mostly one-on-one coaching. I do 9-month containers with guys. It's a lot of it's around crisis recovery. Other times it's around just, some men actually do get to me before the crisis happens. But it's 9 months of deep shadow work, of deep inner work, of deep wilderness exploration. There's a lot involved there, but that's the one way. And then next year, I'm launching a group program, a men's mastermind with a buddy of mine. Probably launching in March.
Awesome, man. Any last words that you'd like to say to the viewers of Zen Talks?
Allow yourself to be a beginner. It's so easy to say I want to be an expert right off the bat, and that's not the fastest way. The fastest way is to start from the beginning.
And that's where you have the most ability to grow.
To say I don't know is probably the 3 most powerful words in the English language, or any language, is I don't know. What do I need to know?
Awesome. It's been great speaking to you, Sam. Thank you so much for your time.
And thank you so much for this. This was a really great conversation. Really honored to be here.
Awesome, bro.